Ever catch yourself saying, it's just faster if I do it myself? Yeah, that's how I knew I needed a virtual assistant too. Real quick, our video has a couple of stops and starts because I had to pre record the interview with my VA who lives in the Philippines. Hang in there, you're going to get some great information. All right. So this is broken into two parts. In the first part, we will interview my assistant who is here in Texas. And in the second part, I'm interviewing my assistant who is in the Philippines because I know that's something that's probably in everyone's sphere where you're aware of assistants that you can go on something like Fiverr, or I go to Upwork, and there are other different companies where you have your choice of folks all over the world. And so, what do you do when your assistant is in a different time zone? Jennifer is not in a different time zone. She is right here in my time zone. And so we're going to start off, and then at about 5:15, we will switch over to a pre-recorded interview that I did with Ervin. I couldn't do a live interview with Ervin because he's sound asleep right now, or he should be. He's probably working, but he's probably, hopefully, he's asleep. So awesome. Good to see you from Virginia. Excellent. All right. We got some East Coast going on here. Got some other people joining us. Great. All right. So Jennifer, introduce yourself.
Um, my name says Kate Walker, but I'm not Kate Walker. I just log in under her Zoom. But my name is Jennifer Marie Fairchild. I am a LPC associate here in Texas, and I am a clinical mental health counseling candidate in New Hampshire and a
Awesome.
PhD student at Texas Tech University.
Yes. And we've got Missouri representing in North Carolina. I'm so happy you guys are here. So when I started doing hiring or thinking about hiring a virtual assistant, I was in a place of complete overwhelm. And Jennifer knows she wasn't my first assistant. She is actually my second, probably third. And so it's something that I've learned along the way, and I'm in a constant state of learning, and we kind of grow into this together. But Jennifer, do you remember how I found you?
Yes, so I was still in my master's program, and I had just joined, as a lot of us do, we just join every Facebook group we can find. And I see this post, and I have no idea who Kate is. And it just says, "Hey, I'm looking for a PhD student to help me out with some grading." And I thought, well, I can do that. That's doable. So I messaged Kate and I said, "I'm not a PhD student, but can I help you?" And that's kind of how my role started, was helping out with grading. And it, over the course of the next few minutes, kind of just transitioned to a little bit more here and a little bit more there. And then I graduated, and most associates, and that was kind of the plan, that after I graduated, I would move on because obviously I'm, getting hours and doing all that. But Kate was such a amazing person to work for. I just never left. And we're
I
what,
won't let you go. I'm
almost
not.
to year four. Yeah, we're almost to year four.
Yes. And it started out with grading, but this is how, when you hire someone, you may have a specific task in mind. Like mine was specifically, I needed help grading assignments for the online 40-hour training. But with that, and if you've followed me at all or listened to our webinars about if you want to have a course, 90% of what we do once the course is built is customer service. And so handling folks where technology is breaking down, or emails just won't talk to email, or things get lost. And I found and out Jennifer's amazing with customer service. So, okay, then I piled that job onto her. And then I find out other areas where, you know what, she lets me know, hey, Kate, you can give me this job, but I'm up to here right now. And who knows, right? And you had better words than that. But at that point, then I know it's time to hire another virtual assistant. And so, Jennifer, we have you. You started out as a 1099, correct? And then once we actually got deeper into the definition of a 1099 and the W-2 employee, we figured out that it made sense to switch Jennifer to a W-2. And so Jennifer is a W-2 employee. She works 20 hours a week for me. Uh, Job description is clear, but it always changes. We just had a huge overhaul last week of our support system. And so you notice that I use the term SOP at the beginning of this presentation because that's the standard operating procedure. So if I have a new system that I want to roll out, I will check with Jennifer. I'll say, okay, look at this. Does this make sense? If she says, okay, but we really need to clarify here or change this over here, I'll wait until I get her to look at it, and then I'll develop the SOP for the other people that will be using our system. So Jennifer was so this is sort of how this transitions, very specific for one job, but then it grows into another job and another job and another job. A virtual assistant or any type of assistant can go the other way too. So you can hire for this job over here and you find out, okay, they're not cut out for that job at all. And so you need to plug them here or you need to plug them there. Um, and that's okay too. So we're going to address, I think it might be a good idea, like right now, I want to make sure I do address all your questions because we are going to address the ethics of things like sharing passwords, the ethics of things like sharing protected health information. But if you would just take about 10 seconds and pop your questions into the chat, what questions do you have or worries or concerns about hiring a virtual assistant?
I like that you brought up like the whole there were things that that person may not do like very and that for me was the directory. The directory was so overwhelming that we shifted that to somebody else, and it wasn't because I was incapable, it was just it was a beast, and I just didn't have the time to dedicate to it, so it often kind of got pushed to the bottom. So I mean, finding somebody that you can have those conversations with and it's not personal, it's just, hey, how do we fix this is huge.
Absolutely. And one thing, how much should you pay your virtual assistant? That's a really good question. Um, if you're on a site like Upwork, you're going to be given a rate. And you'll be given different rates for different level of skill. You'll be given different rates for different levels of customer reviews. So let's say you're looking for a bookkeeper. You're going to look at their skill set. You're going to look at how many jobs they've accomplished. So you'll be able to see so much information and customer reviews to really know if you want to pay $50 an hour or $100 an hour, or if you want to give this person over here a chance who maybe has only done 10 jobs, but they have really, really good reviews and they're only charging $15 an hour. So it's easier to see the going rate on a site like Upwork or Fiverr. Now, when I just put it out into the ether for Jennifer, I asked around. I said, okay, what is the going rate? You know, I didn't want to pay just terrible wages. So I asked, you know, what is better than minimum right now, especially for the level of education that I was looking for, because it was a skilled job. And so you might want to look at it that way if it's something you're going to go a more traditional route like Indeed, or you're going to do like I did, and maybe in Texas Counselors Creating Badass Businesses, you're just going to post it in the In Search Of thread or in the Lemonade Stand. Um, I may not be tech savvy enough to handle it. Well, Mary, I'm going to make sure that you understand how to do that. Also, there's a download that I have. It's at katewalkertraining.com/bonus. And I'm going to have different resources every month, but this month it's how to create, there's a sample SOP. And so you'll be able to see how to create an SOP for something. And also, I'm going to show you one of my organizational systems. We use Trello boards, and I'll show you how I use the Trello board to create an SOP. So hopefully that addresses that, but slash bonus. So if you want to go grab that freebie, like I said, it's just 10 things to delegate, and how to create an SOP. Does the assistant have their own liability insurance policy, or are they covered under your professional policy? Well, so that's part of, Carlin, my organization of my company is an LLC. And so as a limited liability corporation, that's it's a lead curtain between what happens in my business and in my practice or my personal assets or my husband's business. And so in that, there are all kinds of choices. You can get trip and fall insurance. You can have, gosh, home and auto insurance if you have a building or if you're letting your assistant drive a car or something like that. If your assistant or if if this person you're hiring is going to be seeing clients, then they would have their own malpractice insurance. But because Jennifer's a W-2 employee, she's under my control. That's the definition of a W-2. I don't require her to have any insurance. In fact, what we do on our end is more around trademarking and copyright to protect our assets, but we're completely virtual. So you'd probably need to look at your particular situation. Like if you were hiring somebody to clean your office, would you make them have insurance? Or would your insurance cover if they tripped and fell? And I have met Jennifer, so that's kind of
Yeah.
funny too.
We do live far apart, but we
Yeah,
have met.
we have
It
met.
took what, 2 years, but
It took 2 years to meet, and then when I go to Colorado, I swing through Lubbock. I had an assistant in Ohio, and when I passed through Ohio, I did stop and meet her too.
it's happened a couple of times where because I do help with scheduling and cancellations for Kate's clinical stuff. Um, Typically, if a client's in crisis, I do the same thing I would, do. If is this an emergency, call 911, make sure, they're okay, and then I, notified Kate. I don't know what I would do if I were not because I am.
That's a great question to ask. Like if you go to your physician's office and you talk to the receptionist and say, "Hey, how were you guys trained? If there was an emergency in the waiting room, or if there's an emergency back behind the desk, and let's say when you're drawing blood with someone, right? That's a perfect example or opportunity to create an SOP. Number one, this is what you'll do. Number two, this is what you're going to do. Number three, you're going to need to give me your certificate. I want to see that you've been CPR trained and you know how to use the defibrillator machine, right? So everything short of like surgery, can be trained. Uh, and I know that's an exaggeration. If wanting to hire for admin tasks, billing, scheduling, email, phone, etc., do you recommend hiring someone with mental health background, or are the SOPs sufficient? Actually, that's a great segue to the next interview. So Jennifer, I'm going to let you go. Thank you so much for
Hey,
joining. And
don't forget to grab the link. I dropped it one more time and grab the webinar number because I can't email it. Too many
that's
emails.
true.
All right.
You
Thank
don't get
y'all.
it stressed. Thanks, Jennifer. See ya. All right, so today I'm with Ervin Nixon Cruz, and he is very special to me because he is my virtual assistant. So let's get to the questions. We're just going to go bullet by bullet because, of course, I
Mhm.
have to have prompts here. What exactly can a VA virtual assistant do?
Okay, that's a good question. The VA industry has really become such a big part of how business operates today, not only for business, but also for the professionals. And honestly, we are needed more than ever because of course, the existence of AI and so on. There are many lots of things to do as a business owners and professional. And think about it. Most business owners and professionals are already juggling so much on their day-to-day activities. So they just don't have time to deal with those time-consuming tasks. So I'm talking about like things like admin work, keeping up social media, managing calendar and inboxes, creating or updating websites, doing research, customer support, and so on and so forth. For example, creating courses like what I'm doing with you,
Mhm.
and then managing different social media platforms. So that's what exactly we step in as a virtual assistant. We basically the extra hand of the business owners and the professionals. So whatever task that you need to take off your plate, that's what we come in. So that's exactly what we do as a virtual assistant.
Well said. Exactly. No, that's so well said. And it, as a business owner, probably the hardest thing for me was to let go of some of these tasks, like the course creation. I mean, that's
Mm,
what we do at Kate Walker Training, right? We create online courses and webinars, and to take my hands off and to say, okay, I'm going to let someone else do it. I'm going to teach someone to do it. I'm going to help them learn to do it as well as I do. It's a little scary, but
mm,
I cannot emphasize this enough. It is worth it. And the time that Ervin frees up for me has just helped me grow my business exponentially. I mean, it's just been such an incredible help. Um, so you may be asking yourself, business owner or potential business owner who's watching this, listening to this, do I have enough tasks to keep a VA busy? So, Ervin, how would you respond to that?
Well, that's such a common question actually during discovery call or interview with potential clients. Do I really have enough tasks to keep a BA busy? And the truth is, most of the time the answer is yes, way more than you realize it. Here's the thing: when you're running a business, you get used to doing things, everything yourself, that you stop noticing just how many little things are piling up. So answering emails like that, scheduling appointments, updating your social media, and so on. So even if you think, um, even if you think I probably only have a couple of things to delegate, once you start working with the VA, you'll quickly see that your plate is actually um, overflowing. And the beauty of it is you don't need to hand over 40 hours of work right away, just like what we did. Or we can do step by step, like you can start small, delegate a few tasks, and as you build trust, you'll naturally find more and more things your VA can take off your hands. So, in summary, um, no need to hire a full-time virtual assistant. You can start like that 5 to 10 hours a week or a month. And then after that, once you figure out the best way on how you can work together as a team, then that's the time that you can hire them full-time, something like that. Do not pressure yourself on hiring someone to go full-time for yourself, like to help you full-time, because if you don't have enough tasks, then how can you hire someone to work full time? So do not pressure yourself. Just take it one task at a time, and then from that you can figure it out moving forward.
Again, well said. You and I started off with bookkeeping, and not
Yes,
even
correct.
really bookkeeping. I guess my dream was to have a dashboard for my courses, my main course, which is the 40-hour training to become a supervisor in Texas. And then I had some smaller products, and it was sort of looking and saying, okay, now I don't understand which one of these is actually moving the needle toward my 5-year goals. And so
Mm-hmm.
Ervin helped me develop a dashboard where I could see the things that I sold and how they impacted my profit, how much the shared cost was. All of these things I really wasn't thinking about. And it helps to just, because I just have it at a glance. I mean, he created a dashboard where at a glance, I can see at the end of every month which of these categories of products is helping me. So if you're listening to this and you're a therapist, I've taught you guys every single session is sort of a different product. You have individual sessions, group sessions, couple sessions, family sessions. You may have sessions with kids, sessions with folks in their 20s, right? So you can actually start to look at how these sessions impact your bottom line. You can look at days of the week. You can look at times of the day. And there's a way that, a virtual assistant could create a dashboard so you could see, oh, this would be great too if you're trying to come off of insurance, right? You
Mm-hmm.
look to see which ones of your clients, your insurance clients as a category versus your self-pay clients. So I could go on and on and on, but this is just one way Ervin and I started off. I think we started off with, um, was it 5 hours a week, or it
Yes,
wasn't very
around five
much.
hours. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It's not that much, and then we grow into something close to full time already.
We're getting, because now that, like you said, we build trust, we communicate, we have the occasional Zoom meeting, we work with our Trello board. And so it's evolved over time. But I got to tell you, it's not just trusting Ervin, it's me letting go of my control. And as a business owner, that's not easy. So I let go
Yeah,
of
that's not
control.
easy. Actually, one of the hardest thing that I noticed during discovery call is because it's not easy to delegate. To be honest, that it's not easy to delegate. So letting go of the task that you usually do on your own is not easy to let go and share it with other people. So I really understand that it's really a step-by-step process to build a trust between the client and the virtual assistant. And yeah, going back to the question, we really need to take it one step at a time, take few hours, and then from there we can start um, getting big, something like that.
Awesome. Okay, next question. How do I know if I can trust them with sensitive information, passwords, clients, finances? That's a big one.
Well, yeah, that's actually a serious question because as we know, there are many scammers everywhere.
Mhm.
And uh, as AI is progressing, we don't know if we're talking on a real person or not. So it is really important that we do our due diligence to make research about who we are talking, especially the virtual assistant, like checking their social media, and then before sharing anything. And it's a good thing that we are talking about this because recommendation from a friend or a mentor is really important because we're lowering the risk of being scammed or sharing like high risk of sharing information to the people who are not trustworthy enough. So when it comes to sensitive information, just like what we are doing, we have like tools to lower the risk, like LastPass. So
Mhm.
it's like a vault of you need to, for example, for the client, you need to save your password on that password vault, and then to lower the risk of getting the password, like you don't need to send the exact password of all of your tools, for example. All you need to do is to save that in the LastPass, a password vault, and then get the email of your um, virtual assistant. And then from there, they can already have the access. So I think we can lower the risk on that. And also, one of the things that we need to point out is we, as a virtual assistant, we value confidentiality the most. So we can also lower the risk by, for example, creating contracts or signing a non-disclosure agreement. So this is the important thing that we should not we should always take into consideration because as as you work together as a team, it is very important that you don't only protect the sensitive information, but also there are information about, for example, business model that you need to protect for your business. So that's the power of non-disclosure agreement. So it will protect both parties from disclosing anything, especially on the part of the client. It will help you a lot.
Yes, I love that. And for those of you who are thinking about a virtual assistant to help with clients. Now, Irvin, he works in Kate Walker training. He doesn't work with clients and client files, PHI, sensitive information. But if he did, I would treat him like I would treat any other hire. I would train him on HIPAA. I would send him to a HIPAA training. I would make sure my annual self audit that we talked about on the last episode that we talked, we kept a copy of their certificate in a file. And when I do my self audit, I would include Ervin with the other employees or anyone else, any other therapists in my office who have access to that personal health information. So, training someone on HIPAA, getting a certificate, making sure that they're trained in your office procedures for your practice, that's the due diligence that you would do with anyone. And so the idea that Ervin is also there to protect my business, to protect any sort of intellectual property with my courses, to be there to protect, anything that I share with him. He's a team member. And that's, but one of the things, I mean, I know with Ervin, we have done Zoom calls. Like I knew Ervin was a real person, and we are on WhatsApp. If Ervin has a question, even though I might get it the next day, because we are, how many hours apart are we? I always get this wrong. We're
Like,
14 hours.
no, I like to 14 hours, something like that.
Yeah. And so where are you located, Ervin, exactly?
I'm located in Baguio City, like the coldest place in the Philippines. Like I'm in the top of the mountain, something like that.
Oh, wow. So coldest? I didn't know you were in the
Yeah,
coldest part.
yes, yes.
I wish it's going to be 100 degrees here today. Well, great. Okay, I'm going to keep going. Next question. So this is sort of relating back to the other one about do I have enough stuff for a VA? Then, Ervin, how would you say how many hours should I hire for starting out?
Uh, yeah, just like what I said, we can actually start like 5 to 10 hours. It really depends on the workload and how much you're ready to let go of. Because we cannot force the client to like for example, we set like this and like that, and then you're not ready to like um prepare prepare a certain task that needs to be done or outsourced to a virtual assistant. So we can start small, just like what I said a while ago, like 5 to 10 hours a week is perfect, something like that. And then from that, we can fill in tasks, just like what we did before. And then if ever that you're comfortable with each other already, and then you have other workloads to do, for example, you have multiple businesses, and then there are like example admin tasks and then social media tasks that you need to let go of because it's a time consuming task, then that's the time that we can increase that time we spend, something like that. So it's not a force that we need to hire someone full time. We can start small, and then from there we can start working so that we can move forward.
This actually covers our another one where we're talking about, I'm going through bullets, everybody. Do I need to hire full time or can I start with just a few hours a week? So, this is bringing a business idea to my head, and I'm hoping Irvin's on board with this because I think he would be great to do this. But Irvin, it's almost like you need to develop a handbook or a guide that you could give to people who want to hire you. Like, here's the best way to use me as your virtual assistant.
Oh, sure, sure, I can provide that.
I figured you could.
Yeah. Actually, I have one.
Ah,
Normally, I
better.
send that to the people who are interested on my services so
Mhm,
that it's easier for them to understand what we do, how
mhm,
we do it, and how we can help you better as a business owner. Because sometimes when they research, research is different from the actual experience of a virtual assistant or talking to someone who have
mhm.
direct experience with it. So to make it clear, I just provided a copy for them to read, and then from there we can start. Like I also provided some step-by-step process on how we can proceed,
Mhm.
how we can onboard the client, something like that. So yes, I can provide it.
Excellent. I love that. Thank you so much. Um, so coming to this idea of training, because I'm looking at all these questions and there are really only two more I want to make sure we hit. This one, how do I train a VA so they understand my business? This opens the gate to SOPs. And we haven't even really talked about SOPs in our conversation today. So talk about that a little bit. How do I train a VA so they understand my business?
Actually, that's such a great question because a lot of people think hiring a BA is just about giving them a list of tasks. But really, the magic happens when they actually understand your business. Okay. So how do you get there? First, don't overcomplicate it. I think this is one of the lessons that I've learned from Kate because she's always making sure that the instruction is simple and not overly complicated. So
Good.
I thank
Thank
you
you.
for
That's great feedback because sometimes I wonder.
that. Yeah, just like you don't need 100 pages manual to make it work, something like that. Start with the very basic. Give them the overview of what your business is all about. So start by giving information about your business because when they know about your business, they can easily help you better. Like they can propose something that can make the process more efficient. Okay. So it's not only about how they will help you to do this, but they also need to understand the ins and outs of your business so that they can help you better. So the next is think about documenting as you go. This is what we are doing. Simple things like recording a Loom video while you walk through the process or jotting down step-by-step instruction in Google Docs because this will really helps a lot in making sure that the output that you're expecting from a virtual assistant is the same output that they will submit at the end of the day, for example. And then one of the good things about this is, of course, you are not always on your best state. There are times that you forget something. So once you have these things documented, they can always go back to that document and then check it. For example, in our case, you're providing me an SOP, sometimes a video. So every time I forget something, I always go back to that video so that I will still make sure that I can provide a quality output on just like what you expect me to do. And then remember it's not just about what, it's about why. Just like what I've said a while ago, if they don't understand why a certain task matters, they'll make better decisions even without looking over their shoulder. So it is very important that they know what they are doing. And then one thing that I want to point out is um these VAs were actually skilled already. Before you onboard them, they're actually skilled. So you don't need to train them from the very basic. Just inform them and then set expectations from the both of you. And then from there, you can start working. So you don't need to train them because it will take you some time. And one of the reasons why you hire VA is to solve your problem. So if you're thinking that you will train them over and over again, don't worry about that because they are already skilled. All you need to do is to guide them to do the expected output that you expect you to have.
Yeah, thank you. That's so there are actually two or three things. I mean, the first thing um, I want to just so how do I put this? I want to own this. When I give Ervin an SOP and he gives me output, I actually get to see how well I did that SOP. And remember, SOP just stands for Standard Operating Procedure. So I might go step by step, showing Ervin how I want him to put a webinar that we created, take the recording and put it into Podia so that we can add it to the Step It Up membership, right? Because Step It Up members are the ones who get the replays. And this just happened yesterday. We were going through something, and then I realized, okay, I totally forgot to put into the SOP some important information that would make his life easier. So there was a step missing, and it wasn't Ervin, it was me. And so easy fix, because I do create a video. I used to do the Google Doc and try to make a step by step by step, but it was like I would have made it 10 pages long. So I do, so Ervin mentioned Loom. That's a great video software. I use Camtasia just because that's what I'm used to. And so when I go in and I create a course, I say, wait, hey, hang on a second. I'm going to record every step of me creating the webinar into the asynchronous Podia course. And then I can put it into our system, which we use Trello. And when I put it into Trello, it gives me the ability to actually attach each SOP video to the Trello card. And so when I say, oh, wait, Ervin, I see you forgot to check this box or add this thing, he can go back and see exactly which step it was and a video for how to do that. So if you're listening to this and you're thinking about, okay, what can I delegate? And this sounds really, really hard. It's not, I promise. Just start with something. Like I started with bookkeeping. I don't know how to do bookkeeping, but Ervin was already skilled in bookkeeping. He was already skilled in QuickBooks. And so that was our introduction to each other. The ability for him to, it wasn't even QuickBooks. I just sent you a spreadsheet. So he was
Yes,
skilled in
right.
Excel. And so it wasn't like I had to give him an SOP. I didn't teach him how to use Excel. I didn't teach him how to filter data. So then I was able to think, okay, what do I know how to do really, really well, which is create courses. It just takes a super amount of time and I don't want to do it anymore. And that's when I got into recording the videos, creating the SOPs that I could then hand off to him, and we could both look at these finished products. And Ervin, it's still evolving. I mean, I talked the other day about combining two of our boards, and he came back, he's like, I'm not sure what that would look like. And I said, okay, hang on. I'm gonna think it through first, because I've got this vision, which is really common. I get a big vision, but unless I can put it into a space where I can communicate it with him, right? It has to start with me to give to him, but then I let go. And I know so many of my colleagues find it's hard to let go of, oh, wait, but I usually do it in this color Canva, or I usually use this wording, in my title. You know what? There are just some things that are more important than getting a Canva color. Although, Ervin, you always give me choices. So, yes, I mean, it's SOPs, standard operating procedures, find some sort of software to record step by step. I don't work for Loom. I'm not a Loom affiliate, but I hear it's wonderful. But even screen share, I mean, on my Mac,
Yes, screen share.
right? I can record a video, right? I mean, I can,
Correct, correct.
so screen grabs. Make it simple. That's the main thing. Make it simple. And then Ervin will communicate. And Ervin, of course, I'm pushing your services, but I found you on Upwork initially, but there are lots of places out there where you can find virtual assistants. But if I give Ervin something and he comes back and he's like, I don't know, that wasn't the greatest, right? Well, then we work together and we build it. So, last question. No, I'll probably do two more. Okay, second to the last question. Ervin, how do we communicate effectively and smoothly? So, how would one who wants to hire a VA communicate effectively and smoothly like we do?
Okay. So here's the thing. Actually, good communication is really the backbone of successful VA and client relationship. Always remember that. And the good news is it doesn't have to be, again, complicated. So start by picking one main channel where you'll both consistent. It's maybe email, Slack, or even WhatsApp, just like what we're using. We're using WhatsApp. So that you're not scattered on one place, because just like what I've said, it should not be complicated. So just choose one, so that you can communicate. For example, not regularly, but if there is a task, you can communicate immediately. Then add in a regular check-ins or a weekly check-in, something like that. that could be, for example, a weekly Zoom call or even just a few minutes of chat in WhatsApp. And then clarity is a huge too. Clarity is important. Be specific with your instruction, share examples if something changes, update right away, because this is one of the important aspect that we need to consider so that we can communicate effectively and smoothly. And finally, keep it human. Encourage questions, something like that, give feedback. And for example, if you have something in mind, for example, you don't like the output of your virtual assistant, and then communicate immediately, because that's the only way that the next output will be improved. And do not keep it yourself. You just have to be open, because it's a working relationship between you and your virtual assistant. Just like what I've said in my previous answer, your virtual assistant is your extra hand. If you don't communicate, then how can he or she perform his task, right? So that's it. Just don't complicate things. Just choose one and then communicate regularly or weekly, so that you can catch up on whatever things that you need to work on. And then you can also be updated on what are the tasks that was already done and what are the tasks that still on the process, something like that.
Yeah, I sent Ervin, I'll take a picture on my phone. That's, I'll go through and I'll be, because when it's my turn to go through and check and just make sure everything looks how I want it to look. Yes, I am a little bit of a control freak still. If I see something, I just take a quick screenshot, or I'll take a picture with my camera and I'll just say like, "Oh, hey, Ervin, you forgot to check this box. Send." And then
And that actually works. For
it
me, that's
works pretty
actually works.
well.
Yeah, it works really well because it's very specific. It's clear, right?
Mhm.
I need to change this. And then Kate make a screenshot or picture and then send it to me, and then I will change it. And it's clear. It's not complicated, because at the end of the day, you want to make the output better, not perfect, but better. So just communicate, and then for sure your virtual assistant will assist you on the best of its capacity.
I didn't think about this. I am going to ask two more questions. Okay. So we didn't have this, but what are some red flags for a bad assistant when the business owner might sit and think, uh-oh, you know, because I know in my mind, but I want to hear from you, like, because I've had some bad ones. And I
Mm-hmm.
can tell you what kind of started giving me, uh-oh, what's going on here? And it wasn't anything dire like, my passwords are being shared or something. It wasn't like that. But what would you say? I mean, you've got a business there where you actually have some virtual assistants who are working for you, and you vet them, right? You make sure that they understand how to do things well before you let them go with other clients. So, what would be a red flag for you for somebody who's just not getting it?
Mm-hmm. For me, that's correct. Since I'm working with other virtual assistant, there are red flags. What are the red flags that I consider? Maybe the opposite of like what I consider the best virtual assistant. Because for me, a good virtual assistant is proactive and resourceful. So if they are contrary to that, like
Mhm.
you're not willing to learn, for example, or if you are not open in discussion, that's one of the red flag, because you need to build a client VA client relationship. So if you always what do you call it? If you're a type of virtual assistant who always or only ask for instruction, that's one of the red flag. Because as a virtual assistant, you also need to step in, like you need to be proactive and do your task beyond what is expecting on you. Like, for example, if you ask by your client to create a certain spreadsheet, do not create just a plain spreadsheet. Just go beyond that. Like, make some bold text, or like make the alignment. You know, you know what is good and bad, right? So you need to make sure that um you need to work beyond what is expected on you as a virtual assistant. So that's one thing. Second is you don't communicate really well. You're always missing in action. I don't like to work with someone who has the habit of replying more than 48 hours, something like that. Because as a business owner or professionals, you're meeting deadlines, and then that's one thing, one red flag for me, because you're there to be a hand, not to be like other person. So you need to communicate as soon as possible, something like that. And then what else red flag? I think is one of the red flag is if you are not honest to the client. For me, honesty is very important because it will go along the way. Like, if you are not honest to your clients, for example, you are asked by your clients to do a certain task, and then you outsource that to somebody else. That's really a red flag. Because in the first place, if you really want to outsource that to someone, you need to tell your client beforehand. Because you are not only sharing the task, you're sharing the important and sensitive information of the client. So you need to be honest and transparent. Otherwise, I will not choose you as my virtual assistant. So these are the things that I consider as a red flag of a virtual assistant.
It's yes. And so I want to tell y'all, I mean, one time, Ervin, I hadn't heard from him in a couple of days, and it was like very unusual. Like Ervin is very, very good. I mean, not just 24 hours, less than 24 hours. He always gets back to me. Well, there was a freaking typhoon happening
Yes,
in the
typhoon.
Philippines. And he sent me like pictures outside his window. I mean, flooding and wind, trees, blowing. And he's like, our internet's pretty sketchy. I'm like, okay, just stay safe. So life happens with your virtual assistant.
Actually, actually, during that time, just to share, we have deadlines that we need to. There are tasks that the deadlines are already due, and then unfortunately, we struck by two consecutive typhoons, and I'm looking for ways, and there is a power interruption, and then we don't have internet, and as we all know, that's our lifeblood as a virtual assistant. We need electricity, we need internet, otherwise we cannot perform our task. So during that time, we don't have that aspect. So I really made sure that I can find a way to work things out. Otherwise, um, my clients will be like, I will find me as a missing in action person. That's why beforehand, before the typhoon, I already told Kate that there is a typhoon coming, and it's a category which we haven't seen in a while in the Philippines. So, and then after typhoon, she's reaching out because, yeah, we already have a due date. So what I did is I transferred to a coffee shop just to make sure that everything is fixed, and I can provide the output that she's expected me to have on the specific date. And that's what I'm telling you. You need someone that is resourceful enough to finish the task. Yes, we can be considerate, but if the virtual assistant keeps on doing that, um, we can because we cannot delay that. We are on the process. We work on the back end. So as much as we always want to give consideration to the virtual assistant, we also need to consider that we are a running business and we cannot delay things. So that's it. We need to be resourceful. Otherwise, it keeps getting worse and worse.
Yeah, and as a business owner, okay, say, take that even uh, out of the equation, natural disasters. I mean, I live in Texas, and so we have, uh, life happens. I think for me, when it becomes a red flag, is I call them touches, right? So for me to move on to another project, I have to be able to take my hands off this one over here. And that trust that when I have handed it to Ervin, I can take my hand off of it and then go over here and focus completely, right? So a red flag for me are would be a virtual assistant that's, I think you said, constantly asking for instruction, or they are not proactive, they don't take the initiative,
Yeah.
right? I mean, I want a VA to give me a product, give me something I can look at and say, oh, you were close, got it 80%, let's get it the other 20%, right? But not just tell me again, and especially if I have given pretty decent SOPs, right? So keep that in mind as you're hiring your virtual assistant. They aren't supposed to just keep asking, right? And at the
Yes.
same time, give them a decent SOP, right? Give them something.
Correct.
All right, Ervin, final comments. Give us a takeaway.
Well, I'm caught on guard. So I think the best takeaway in this conversation is that it is really important to ask help to someone who are expert on what they are doing, because at the end of the day, there are many aspects of business that you can focus on. And if these are the tasks that if you are eating by this task day by day, you need to let someone handle it, because I know that delegation is one of the challenge, even personal, not only in business, but even in personal. Like, you've been doing that for like maybe for a decade or for months or years. But I mind you, once you outsource this this task that makes your life so complicated, um, you can turn that time into a more proactive, like in more fruitful endeavor. You can focus on like building your business more. You can focus on the business side rather than focusing on like the ad hoc or the admin side of the business, which can be handled by other people. So trust me, if you're thinking about the cost, don't think it as a burden on your part because you're spending another dollars from these people, from the virtual assistant. Take it as an investment, because at the end of the day, when you are free on the task that you used to do daily, you can you can focus more on upscaling your business. And once you upscale your business, it can generate a lot of income. So instead of thinking that as additional cost, take that as investment, because that's how business works. We pay people to make our life more easier in this industry. So that's it. That's my takeaway. And as a
Yeah.
virtual assistant, we are really, really, really wanted to help business owners, because once we see you thriving on your business or on your career, it is really a good feeling for us, because we are helping you in the back end, even though we are not at front, like commending by other people. It's okay with us for as long as we see you thriving in your business. That's really a big thing for us as a virtual assistant.
That's awesome. I love that. And so, Ervin, if people wanted to contact you, because as you mentioned, one of the best ways to trust a new virtual assistant is to have a referral from another person. And I'm your referral, everybody. So, Ervin, there are a couple of ways. I know one we'll put a link in the show notes to make sure people can contact you. But how else could people find, or what's the best way for people to find you if they wanted to hire you or one of your virtual assistants?
Well, you can find me in all of my socials. My name is Ervin Nixon Cruz. You can check that for my credibility. You can hire me Upwork. You can also contact Kate for my details, or we can put it here so that you can contact me, and then we can do a discovery call so that if you have questions, then you can easily ask me directly. So, for example, if you need someone to help you, of course, I am currently exclusive to Kate as her virtual assistant. But if you really wanted to have a virtual assistant who are efficient, that can really work hard on your business, I can actually you can hire on my agency. I have a mini virtual assistant agency, which is actually trained by me. So do not worry about that. What is good about hiring a virtual assistant from an agency in particular, is that when you hire someone from an agency, for example, you are not good match with each other, we can actually replace that because at the end of the day, if it's not best fit for you, we cannot force to fit a certain virtual assistant because we're considering a lot of things. Even if the virtual assistant is skilled, but personality wise, he or she is not best fit for you are not best fit for each other. We can replace another virtual assistant. So if that's the case, you can contact me. I can give my WhatsApp, or we can schedule a call so that you have an idea on how it works. So that's it.
Yes, and Ervin edits all my blogs. So if you are actually accessing this on my blog, Ervin, I imagine you will put all the links necessary into that blog so people can grab it. If you are not reading the blog, if you're listening on the podcast, we will be sure to put information about how to contact Ervin in the mid-roll and in the intro. So listen for those. And I hope
I forgot that I'm doing the blog, so I will put more information.
I didn't forget. Yeah, this is how I'm
Thank you
able to
so
take
much.
vacations. I can't even tell you, like knowing that Irvin and my other wonderful assistants are out there holding my business together. This is how I'm able to spend time with my family, visit my grandkiddo. This is it's a game changer. So
Oh my, thank you so much.
an SOP. I'm going to show you the old school. This is an old school SOP for scheduled Facebook posts. And so I created this. And when I start to do something, when I'm thinking about offloading a task, you really have to get into this mindset of, okay, I'm about to do this thing. What if I just sat down and wrote down every step that I take? Like, one, open the program, two, click start, three, do this. And so that's what I did with the Facebook posts. And honestly, it's not the greatest SOP in the world because if you're reading it and you're like, well, what does that mean? That means it's not that great of an SOP, right? Because I'm not being very descriptive. So what I switched to was screen recordings. And so with the screen recording, and if you're in the Step It Up membership, I use a lot of screen recordings to show how to find your products, how to get the Zoom link for our weekly coaching call. Because when someone sees a quick 2-minute screen recording, it can make a lot of sense. Now, if you take, so when I say screen recording, it's that app on your computer that, and I don't, so here it is on my PC, and I can do a recording of the whole screen. Mac is so much easier, but my PC can do it too. Or you can use outside software like Loom and Camtasia. But let me show you an example. So this is mine and Ervin's combined Trello board. So this Trello board is designed to go left to right. And so if it needs a blog post, it goes here. If it's a training, it goes here. That if it's an online course, and you can see I don't have any online courses in the queue. So if you click on, let's just look at a blog post. There's a lot of information here. And with Trello, Ervin can communicate with me in the Trello card. He can tag me so that I get an email. And I can add information like the link to the YouTube video right in the Trello card. But here's where the magic happens. The checklist. So we have an 11-item checklist, and each one of these checklists is how to create a portion of the blog. So let me click step 1. And y'all give me a thumbs up if you can see what the screen switched to. Can you see a YouTube video? Okay, awesome. So no sound, I'm not talking, but what it shows him is how to grab the transcript. So I could have explained this, but instead I'm showing him. And that's all it is. It was a quick 20-second video showing him how to find the blog post. And each one of these steps is a little tiny piece of information. I mean, if you're like me, and I mean, even these 1-hour webinars, I know it's like drinking from a fire hose. So imagine how your assistant might feel if you're like, okay, this is protected health information. What you're going to do, you're going to answer the phone, you're going to triage the client, you're going to ask them 5 questions, but start with scheduled before you get to days of the week. I mean, right? But imagine if you could create step by step, even if you did just the old school way and wrote it down and scheduled a meeting, Zoom, whatever, and just that one task, and then you could check in and watch them, watch it, because the virtual assistant, it takes time. This is not a fast process. On the flip, if you're hiring for something like bookkeeping, yes, you should hire a VA skilled in that skill, right? Don't teach someone how to do bookkeeping, right? Don't hire someone and teach them how to do graphic design or how to use Canva. You're going to hire somebody who already has this skill set for that. All right. So any questions about what I just showed you, or what is an SOP, or what does it mean to break down a task? There. And I'm going to put Ervin's information into your profile, same place where your certificate is. So you can email him if you're interested in reaching out. He would love that. And as I mentioned before, he also hires VAs to work for him. And he's from what he describes, he's a very meticulous boss. He makes sure that his VAs do good work as well. But let's use the last few minutes to ask questions. Or what's still kind of confusing for you, or what questions or worries do you have? If this helped, hit like, tap subscribe, and grab your free SOP starter guide at katewalkertraining.com/bonus. And if you're watching this thinking, I should have gotten CEs for this, well, Step It Up members do every week. You can join us at katewalkertraining.com/stepitup.